Welcome to the Village of Buchanan, May 23rd, workshop meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So Marcus, what is the first thing on our agenda this evening?
The board will be discussing the steep slope floor on the next meeting. So I got the planner, the engineer, a corporation counsel to discuss if there's any questions on the proposed law so that we can get it out to the public and make any modification we want to do. So I don't know if Stephanie, you want to start off or?
No.
Okay, George or Dave, we can start discuss what the changes you guys are recommending. So whoever wants to start.
Okay, George, would you like to do the review first, please? Thank you.
No problem. Good evening, Mayor, trustees. So we were tasked with reviewing the existing steep slopes laws and making improvements to it so that it's more friendly to development. We took out some of the stronger language that's in there that talks about slopes that are what we call excessive steep slopes, which are slopes over 30%. The history of the village has been that slopes over 30% or do not touch. Over the years, since we've been here, steep slopes permits, if we did 10 of them over the last 30 years, would be a lot. So this issue hasn't come up a lot. And if you look at the topography of a map of the village, there's not a lot of hills and steep slopes. There's not a lot of it. So hence, you didn't have a lot of steep slopes permits over the years. So back in '94, when all this came up, I guess the village was tasked back then with F.B. Clark. They did a review, they looked at Newcastle's law, and they said, okay, we want to incorporate a law. It looks like they took Portland's law and they adopted it into your code. Portland's law is very stringent, but it said it's over the 30% limit. It's do not touch at all. So now, 30 years later, we're looking at it, and a lot has changed. A lot of development, a lot of the areas that were, well, that one law was put in place, we didn't have as many subdivisions. So Lake Drive came in, Valeria Court, Donahue Court came in. So there was a bunch of development. Greentown wasn't developed at that time. It was a corporate park that came into effect in Jacksonville. So thinking back then was that as these developments come up, there should be something in place. So now all these developments have come and gone. You don't have that much steep slopes left. What you do have, we looked at some maps, is you have the Con Ed property, which is wide open. And now we've had entity shut down, which now that opens to 60 acres, which is coming up. And that has some steep slopes in it. But that all faces towards the Hudson, and that's going to be covered under your LWRP. So a lot of that, so views from the Hudson, if you go through a secret process, you'll look at that, make sure the housing is cited or whatever proposal you have is cited properly so it doesn't have visual impacts. So that's what we're left with the other properties, which is the Wick property and the property that you're looking at now, which is in front of the board AMS. They have some hilly areas that are encroaching on the steep slopes, but the way we've modified this code, it does two things. It keeps what you had before, and it keeps with the intent, which is it stays with the intent, which is the intent is not to restrict general development of those, but to guide land use proposals into areas where the best preserve and enhance these natural resources and preserve and protect the visual and environmental character of the land. So it's in keeping with that. So we haven't taken that out of the code. And then we've enhanced the engineering aspect of it. So as you disturb more steep slopes, you do a little more engineering. And that's the gist of the changes that we had. And we reviewed both the village property that we were just talking about earlier. And we have we find the, ridge lines came up, which we've added in here, ridge lines. And, we had another issue come up, which was so when you have a wall that's over 6 feet in height, it's considered an accessory. So you have to meet a setback from a property line that we have in there too, which is a carryover from other steep slopes in other communities and other municipalities. So that's something that they do that we've incorporated in it. It's actually should have been part of your code originally, because if you go to your walls and fences, anything over 6 feet is an accessory. So it's a carryover for that. So we incorporated. So we're doing some tweaking of the code as we're making the cross referencing work as well. So we added ridge line, we added some definitions for plateau. We added a definition for excessively steep slopes. We kept a lot of the rest of it is in there as engineering. Part of the process to demonstrate that you're citing the project correctly in the most least disturbance. We added some other things towards the end. So now we have the bonds. So for instance, we have a site over on Greentown Road. Once they disturb the site, you want them to put up a bond in case they don't follow through with what they're doing. So if you have to take it over, you can stabilize the site and finish it. Right now, we have a site over there that's been disturbed for 6, 7, 8 years.
2015.
2015, so 8 years. So what we've added some language in here at the end. You'll note section. Okay, D gets into as-built compliance certifications. So just so you know, the site over there, I'll start talking to and when I say over there, Greentown Road, the engineer, I spoke to the engineer record over there.
Okay, closer to the mic.
I'm sorry.
I'm hearing the same thing that we had before.
Oh, it's dead again?
That's coming out. You can't hear? Oh, okay.
Closer to the mic.
There, closer. There you go.
So we added as-built and construction certification letter. So actually next week,
My closer to you, I'm gonna lean over.
oh,
There you go.
so next week, we're actually gonna do that certification letter and we're gonna get that from the applicant's engineer.
Yeah.
And that way we can sign off on the resolution and to make sure that what was shown on the plans is actually what was built. So that's an important aspect that we added. And above that, engineer-based to provide estimate of the cost of construction to stabilize the area. So it's not a cost to finish their project, it's a cost to stabilize it. So that's what that estimate is. And then we have a section for violators. In section D, we kind of modified that a little bit to give you guys more power when somebody doesn't do what's shown on the plan. And that's pretty much it. I had some other stuff to hand out, some information. So you will see some of this stuff in the secret process. When you look at EIFs and full EAFs, it gets into 15% that she talks about impacts. So all the things that are in EAFs, we try to reflect in the steep slope laws as well. And then this also goes to the county for review as well, because they have input since it's part of the secret process. So that's pretty much it. Look what you had and what it's a modern day standard.
I like it, George. Who will set the number for the bond, though?
So they'll provide a construction cost estimate. We'll look at it. And we'll say, okay, let's say they say to stabilize the state, let's say you get halfway through it, stabilize it as $20,000. The board will agree or disagree with it.
Okay. All right.
Dave, any comments from you?
So I think George and Stephanie did a very comprehensive job in making the amendments. And I think the important thing from my standpoint, from a planning standpoint, was that as the village considers potential disturbance to steep slopes, that they have the proper engineering components in the code that help protect the village and needs to better develop. So I think that was the kind of the trade-off. They're allowing for additional disturbance, but you have that protection and having additional engineering studies and backgrounds and having their own village engineer being able to look at that at the design and sign off on the design with the development program development. So in my mind, I think it's an improvement to the code. Again, I think it brings it up to more comprehensive contemporary standards throughout the Westchester County from a development standpoint. From a procedural standpoint, if you decide to set the public hearing, then we'll do a certain coordinate with Cindy and with Stephanie on the circulation to the county and the other agencies involved in to prepare the draft and then the proposed changes to the code.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the way our code was written previously was very restrictive to development. And I think with your effort, George and Stephanie, appreciate. I think you guys tweaked it. There's enough to still protect the village, but also open up potential for future development. So thank you for your efforts.
Likewise.
It's all about protecting the village. Right. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Yeah, we have, yeah.
What's next on anything?
Okay, next is the increase in fixed asset level. Right now, I think it's 5,000 for the fixed asset, 1,000. There's a fixed asset schedule that we required on the state law and also the orders to consider what's fixed assets. And it's been $1,000 for a long time. So it's also a recommendation from the orders that we increase that amount to actually keep fixed asset with things that actually are valuable. So unless the village board has any objection, we adopt a motion to do that. And then we can give that to the auditors as well. And then Cindy can keep the fixed asset schedule and provide that to the auditors. So if there's no objection to that, we'll put that on the next meeting.
Yeah, recommend it.
Mhm.
I'm fine with it too. Are we gonna need, George?
Dave can leave. George, you can stay for I don't want to have a discussion about capital projects. A lot of it is George.
So to talk about, maybe we'll switch the agenda up so we can, George doesn't have to wait till the end.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Dave, thanks.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good night.
Great holiday.
Oh,
Yes, you too, Dan. Thank you.
Monday, yeah. So, okay, you want to do fix, capital projects next?
Yeah.
All right, what I provided to the board is a draft list so far. There's still more, I'm still gathering some additional information. And what I'm hoping, this is a working document. We we might have more modifications later on. I work with George, I work with all the department heads to get you a big 5-year capital project list. What you'll see on the left hand, what you see is the amount for the year. To the right will be the financing source or method, that possibility for each year. The red columns are things that have already been funded into capital projects or grants that we have money available for. So far for the 23-24 year. Of course, the board can modify this if you wish to. And so I was hoping that maybe in July, workshop in July or August, if the board wishes, we have the departments come in, describe their projects, what the priorities are. And then depending on what the board wants to move on, we can talk about how to finance those projects, either through a grant application, through money in the capital projects, like we discussed prior meetings, that after the close of last fiscal year, we have about $500,000 extra that we can use for capital projects. And what's good about doing July or August is we'll have at least a estimate number for this fiscal year that ends in May. And then we might have additional funding that the board can use to fund some of these projects that are not funded yet for the next 4 or 5 years. Another thing to discuss for budgeting for the future is, do you want to set money aside like we do for the fire department? We give the fire department $50,000 every year to help pay for projects in the future. Maybe to consider in the future, like the police cars, we tend to buy a police car every 2 or 3 years. We can try, and instead of borrowing that money, maybe put a little bit of money aside every year to that when the police car has to be replaced, we have money in capital projects. Oh, sorry. So there's a lot of options to discuss how we can fund these issues, these projects, but I at least want to get you an idea of what we have so far. And here George is here too, was just to let you know, when you go into the main part of the wastewater treatment plant, A lot of the stuff is with the IMA now, there's different options. And again, we can discuss which option they are. The number can be overwhelming, but a lot of things is covered by grants, now with the IMA that we're talking about. So a lot of those projects for foreseeable future, replacing the tanks, a new tank, that's gonna be a grant. So you don't have to worry about borrowing money for anything like that. So that could be a topic amongst itself on how we want to move forward and talk about the dates and times for that. So if the board is willing to, like I said, July, August, have a staff meeting, depending on how the mayor would like to do this, have an agenda, set up maybe 15, 20 minutes for each department head to talk about what they want to do. And then you can take another meeting later on to talk about, okay, which project we do want to move forward on and how we're going to fund those projects. There might be project the board might want to do that's not on this list as well. So you let me know, like if we're in the pickleball court, replace the tennis courts have to be replaced. So the idea, if you want to replace them with tennis courts, or you want to do one tennis court, one pickleball court. George did a project for the city of Peekskill. They're doing pickleball courts in Peekskill right now. So we got
Seems to be the hot thing.
so
now.
we got a pretty good number of what that would be. So again, but we have the recreation money for that. So there's a different funding source to do these projects depending on how what the board want to move forward. So I'm here to answer any questions. Hopefully, I think we haven't had something like this in prior year. I've worked very hard to try to get you something to give you a game plan for the future. And then, like I said, if the board has any projects and not from that list, let me know. I'll stick it in here and then we can discuss it with the department heads. George, anything from you?
That's it. We probably need some time to digest what's in there.
Yeah, no, I got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah,
going
that's
back
quick,
and forth.
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Can't even say it.
so it takes-
I can email it to you. It's hard to
Yeah.
say. I try to make it as big as I can. I'll email you a copy of so you can blow it up a little, but there's a lot of information on here, yes.
You know, I know in the highway department, they were looking for, like another one of the big trucks.
Yes, and you'll see that as well. So, yeah, so digest it, take your time, no rush.
That's why I just wanted
Yeah.
to start going over this so that they can, look at it and see
Correct.
what's, projects they think are important. And mentioning grants, George and I were able to meet with the DEC today, talking about the sewer treatment plant and to go over, the different grants that we're eligible for. And, so it was a good meeting. I think they really covered everything and what our direction is going forward and how we can access the grant money the 1.6 million that we already have. So George has some work to do with that. And just so the board knows, it's gonna move forward now with the grants, but a lot of it's on George and a lot of it's on the, and Marcus, you did say we have someone to do our grants.
I gotta see if it's available, yes. You gotta let me know what the timeline you're talking about.
Yeah.
July 28th, 4:00, but I'd like to see that submitted before because July 28th is such a busy day in the state. If you're submitting it electronically, it's been known to jam up. So I think we need to say that Monday before that, that whatever grant writer we use, that needs to be done.
Okay,
But George has a lot of work.
I'll put you in contact with him because I don't know what grant you're applying for. I don't know what the deadlines are. So somebody has to have a discussion with him because he might be booked already.
So that, yeah, we use the CT now.
You have his contact information. Yep.
We can reach out.
Mhm.
And describe to them what our strategies are and try to leverage some of those. So
Yeah.
We will, what we want to do and more, so that's the goal.
Okay,
So that's the EFC grants that are due by July 28th. So looking over some of these others, I guess we could ask the grant writer too, if they know of anything that we could possibly, what other grants we could apply for to,
the lining of the
Whatever.
lining of the pipes will be a lining of the pipes will be one too. So that's,
I
Yeah,
don't know.
Yeah, this year it's paid for because we're
Yes.
under a grant for 228. It'd be nice to get rolling on multiple grants for that. That'd be a nice thing. So, next year. So,
okay,
Yeah, I knew it was the end of July, so I said, we need to have this conversation and, as it's moving forward, George, if you can, update us with, where you are, because I know you have quite a bit of work to do
I do.
to first of all, tap into the 1.6 and then, but we got that moving, so
Yes.
there's a lot of money available.
Thank you. Very well.
thanks, George. Have a good night.
You're welcome. Thanks. Have a good holiday.
All right,
You
you
too,
too.
George. You all. You too. Thank you.
Okay, Teresa, the next item is the increase in the sliding scale for the senior citizen exemption. I'll let Cindy explain.
Okay.
Okay, so New York State has adjusted their sliding scale, which allows, cities to have villages to adjust ours. So you'll see the paper that I gave you, we have 10 options right now, and these have all been in effect since 1995. So we haven't changed it since then. So I gave you some recommendations, like what we may want to do. Currently, this year, we don't have 7 people that for the benefits. For example, 4 of them use the 50%. One used 25% and one used 15%, which is 50%. So we're not talking about a lot of people. I would say if we upped it to the, 50,000 people, I don't know. So it depends on what you want to do.
So they would have, the seniors would have to show their tax, their New York
Yes.
State or federal tax and
Right.
show that they're under the 50,000. So if they're under 50,000, they could get 50% off. Is that, or what's the
Depends what you
slide?
Want to do, but yes.
Okay.
It's up to the
Yeah,
board to decide.
What dollar amount? Because right now it's at
37,
37.
400.
Okay.
So do you want to have further discussion on this, or do you want to have something to actually vote on at the next meeting? It's up to you.
So this is just for village taxes and,
Correct.
and then the cutoff that we would have to make a decision by, I mean, I have no problem with it,
Well, now-
37.
There's a new law now that says I think a month before the end of the year, we have to send out a notice to everybody
Okay.
to offer this, to come have a hearing. So we need to know, I would say, September, just. take
Right.
about 80.
Yeah, I think so. Because from 37.4 to 50.
Actually, maybe even sooner.
Sooner.
We have to change the local law because.
Correct.
In our code. It's not even the code, it's not even.
Yeah, this has.
Correct. The code has to be changed.
I don't understand why it hasn't been addressed, but I think we should move forward with it.
So we gotta do a local law first.
So give me the details and I'll.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So many people that want to apply for it.
Yeah,
Right.
some of the seniors,
So-
it's, they're on fixed incomes.
Yeah. I like the one from the state, but then I think the people that get 50% won't like that. So maybe like the one that from Croton, and it's just 4 little options. I don't think we need 10 options.
No, I think, yeah, keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
And that will help people their next year's village taxes. Okay, so that'll be in time for that. Okay, good.
All right, good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think that's a good thing.
Thanks, Cindy.
Okay, the next item, which is really the last item, is discussion of required policy. I sent an email to the village board. We're required to have a workplace balance policy and a couple other policies in place. We really haven't updated our handbook either. So what I would like, Cindy, when was the last time have we updated our handbook?
We worked on it.
Yeah,
Well, we guys were busy in it.
yeah,
I was on the board then too.
yeah. So it's,
Very busy.
I'm
so
always busy.
it's been a while, so I just want to get the policies to meet the state requirements, and what I did was I checked what other municipalities, Village of Croton, White Plains, Sleepy Hollow, they use labor attorneys, but there is the Taylor law and there's union requirements. I just want, and the state requires a policy, then we'll tell you what the policy should be. So Cindy did some research and got some sample policy. So we want to pass that along to labor attorney, make sure there's no issues with that. And then your board can approve it. Before you approve it, we also have to then pass it to the union as well, make sure there's no issues. But I would like to get a policy in place that will pass muster for the unions, both police and DPW. And then you guys can adopt it as well. So I just wanted maybe an hour or two of the lawyer's time to review this, to make sure we are going in the right direction. And like I said, I've checked with other municipalities and they said, you want a professional to review this before you actually even consider passing something to the union. So that's what I would like to do. Yes,
Isn't that long ago we did an employee handbook because we didn't have an employee handbook.
But I don't think it was ever passed.
we've never passed it. They were never passed out.
And that was,
Because they were never given to the labor attorney to review. It stopped there.
All right, then.
It stopped at that spot.
All right,
Yeah, that should be.
absolutely.
So is there? there's one drafted, but it's never been
Right.
adopted. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
So
So we
these
gotta-
policies just stand alone?
Yeah, because the employee handbook, there's things that are not state required, but these policies are, oh, I'm sorry, but these policies are state required, so I want to meet the state requirement.
I thought-
On top of that, that will be included in the handbook. If we get okay to have to, again, let labor to review the handbook and then go in that process. I would like to move forward on all this stuff to get everything done.
And that's gonna go to labor.
Correct, correct.
Start with the two policies.
You want to start with the, not do the handbook yet?
Well,
Well, we can work on it.
You get them
all
done,
Yeah.
right? We've been asking for both to get those done.
Right.
Well, yeah.
You're pushing right now.
Yeah.
right, and that's immediate.
Okay. All right,
Listen,
so
if we've got something drafted up, let's.
Right.
let's pull
That's
it
what
out
I'm saying. I
of
mean,
let's pull it
if
out
the
of
board wish to, I can, that way it can be incorporated.
Use.
If the board would like to go through, I can, the handbook and these policies be incorporated in one document and then get everything done.
Okay.
Cindy, could you send the board the draft of the handbook to look at now?
No, sir.
Now,
When was the draft done?
Cindy knows.
Send me those.
When did Kevin move?
Oh,
2018.
4 or 5 years ago?
Maybe it's- I'm gonna guess
One that
17.
says amended December of 2020.
But it was never adopted.
We did work on it. I
Yeah.
remember that, but I
Yeah.
just don't remember the
Yeah.
time frame.
Okay, so it's not
Because
that
the
far
because
along.
labor attorney never reviewed it.
Why didn't we
Why not just have
give
it
it to
tweak
you?
it, and then you just have-
We'll all review it. You don't need that?
That's why, I thought it was, I thought it was like this whole time, people have to sign for it.
Yeah,
I
everyone,
had no
that,
idea.
the direction of that handbook, I'm remembering now,
And it
was
took forever
supposed
to
to go
do.
to every employee. They were supposed to read it. The new hires were supposed to read it and sign it.
Sign it.
I don't know.
And it
I
had
don't
some
know
of
what
these
happened.
policies in it, but you want to,
not the attorney's room to review.
Correct.
So that's, so then, all right, so
So we're
we're
into vapor
close.
stage.
Yeah, exactly.
That happens.
So it'd be nice to clean that up and get it done.
It's been kind of a lot of things going on
Yeah.
since 2017, COVID, got into everything.
That would be great to clean.
All right,
That'd
so
be great.
then pick that up and take
Cool.
care of that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect,
Thank you. That,
wonderful.
I got some other updates on other things, but
Okay.
whatever you want to move forward on next.
What else is on our agenda?
Nothing else on the agenda.
Okay, so what are your?
So a couple little updates for the board and for the public. The street sweeping has been completed.
Oh, good.
It's great news. There might be maybe the proposal to do certain streets more often than once a year. So I'm waiting for that proposal to come in, pass it to the board. Cook has some recommendations in regards to what streets he saw the most garbage on per se, or the most litter. And he might recommend to do those streets a little bit more often. When I get a proposal, I'll pass it to the board. The water valve replacement program, I emailed the board about that. Due to the paving project we're gonna be moving forward on, we wanted to check the valves before we pave to make sure those valves are operating correctly. So, the water department is gonna be sending out notifications to the affected areas and when the water might be shut down. We'll do a Facebook post. Sharon, we talked to Sharon about it. We're gonna Facebook, email blast, and everything, let people know that water might be shut down to replace any valves that are not functioning properly.
You know,
Yes.
there is, and I don't know how to do it, I'm not sure, but there is on Code Red where you can do areas, like you don't have to do it throughout the whole village.
You wanna do it?
You
I don't know
can,
how to do it, but I can qualify that.
Okay. We can do a code red that way too.
yeah,
But,
and this way it'll be backup for the people that they.
yeah, Randy's gonna go to every single house and
Okay.
drop off a notice to every single house as well. So
Right.
that's real,
The
real.
valve replacement was recommended by George?
Yes, yes. And
Do we
well,
have the
also the
answer?
water
Do we have
department, a lot of them are stuck, they're not working.
Oh, I know, I'm very familiar with that, but
Yeah.
have we ever operated any of these valves?
Yeah, he's tested, yeah.
Yeah, we operate quite a few of them. We do have a few on the list.
Are they operational or they're not operational?
Well,
Yeah.
they operate once in a while, but that way we have one right across from here that when you shut the system down to do a repair there, it just leaks. Which is a problem.
And what's the year? You have to have the years on them? Do we have any data?
I don't think, that's the other thing. When I talked to George, I actually talked about setting up a process where you're gonna repave the street, include the valves. That was never done before.
Mm.
The only time the valve was replaced, if there was a leak and we had to shut it down, and all of a sudden we realized that the valve doesn't work.
Well, I mean, valves, you know.
You never know,
Yeah.
right?
But I think what Anthony's saying is, right, can't you tell me if I'm wrong, you want some kind of documentation as to like.
Yeah, we should just have a data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have data on the, if the valve was open and closed and it's seated properly, then, maybe that valve's still good. I mean,
Correct.
if that data is there,
Ideally, in the past, I've asked Marcus in the past also, we never really got to that stage of getting an exercising pool for the valves.
Correct.
Which is actually, they're better for doing, opening a valve, sometimes it's stuck shut. But I get two guys on it, yanking hard and snapping the valve and slowly increases the torque until it frees it up. And it was a
Yes.
plan before I retired.
well, I know that, but we don't have, so
My
what
plan was-
tool
my
do
plan
we
was when I
have
retired,
right now?
go out there and I think-
Just a valve wrench?
Excuse me?
So if we get into a water main break where there's a situation where we gotta close the valve and we can't get the valve shut at this time, how do we do it?
We go to the next
No
valve.
valve.
We find a valve that.
So we keep going from valve to valve to
We've
valve,
done it.
so we
We've
find a
shut
valve
down
that
bigger
works.
areas.
So we don't have the proper tools to close valves.
And I was asking for that.
Yep.
Before I retired and then get some kind of a program.
Yeah, we got it.
Shut down valves.
That's been purchased. That's been purchased.
So we
Yeah.
purchased that. Do we know?
Do we have a compressor?
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And do we have a compressor it's a pneumatic tool, correct?
I forgot what it was. Yeah.
I don't remember, to be honest with you. There's a couple of
It's
variables.
whatever I remember that Randy wanted it, so we ordered it. So it's been
Your
done.
question, basically, we don't have a compressor.
That should be another thing. When you gotta blow out the valves, you can't get a wrench on unless the valves are clean.
Right.
Yeah, listen,
Yeah.
I know, and I've said that I would meet with Scoot about a few things. There's a lot of things that we should upgrade so we can keep things in-house. I think we could save a couple bucks that way,
Yeah.
and, I just wanna know how we getting into this water valve. If they're leaking, I get it. If they're not leaking, if there's any data on them, I don't see why we're replacing them. I know it's a pre-pave operation. And as well as the sewer covers are outdated. They should be
Mhm.
part of your pre-pave as well. I mean, you crack a sewer head or ring, your asphalt is gonna be compromised.
Mhm.
So, I mean, a lot of towns and villages do that as well.
Mhm.
But that's why if we had data, when things are replaced, then we should start
Yes.
now, keeping a log of what's.
You're absolutely correct. George is now keeping a log of all the valves that are being replaced
Good.
here. And we're actually working with the county for a GIS package, so we can also embed that right into the
But
GIS.
the ones that were operational, the ones that we had a break and say one didn't see, we went back to the next one. That one works, so we know that one works, so we're good.
Correct,
Next time there's a break, we know which valve to hit.
correct, yes.
Where do we keep the documentation?
George has a whole water map.
But do we keep a manual log or is this computerized?
It's all computerized,
Okay,
yes.
that was my.
So, the paving, project, went out it's on the website. The receiving the bids is June 21st at 2:30, so that's moving forward. So,
So a guy who's out measuring.
yeah, so we got two companies that actually said they were interested in doing that, so that's moving forward as well. And then one other, it's a minor issue, but right now, our domain is a .com. So the county was a .com, they just went to .gov for better security and stuff like that. So if it's okay with the board, I would like to move forward in that direction, change our domain from villagebuchanan.com to villagebuchanan.gov. It gives more, like I said, security to the person sending the email, they're going to the right person, because people can spoof those emails sometimes, and then they think it's coming from us and it might be coming from somebody else. So if that's okay with you, to set that up with it's a federal government, you have to apply for, I have to go on the website and apply for, it's about $400 a year to set up a .gov account. So if that's okay with you, I can start that process, and that way we'll change our domain name. So just want to throw that out there as well.
Sure.
All right. One more item. The clock at the circle. A couple years, 2 years ago, we had a proposal to replace the parts that are not working, the time and all that stuff. To fix everything, it's about $7,000. The money's in the budget. The clock people can come and fix everything. Actually, we do flowers to go on the clock, makes it look pretty. I would like to get it fixed and actually operating properly. And if it's okay with you guys, I would like to move forward to get that fixed. It has been fixed. It hasn't been working, many, many years, and Bob knows that as well.
It's always about 5 minutes slow, I think.
Yeah.
So if that's okay with you guys, I would love to move forward on that as well, if that's okay with you.
Gotta fix it. We can't have the clock out at the circle. Like,
It's, it's the sense of pride, I think, too. It's in a circle. Okay? All right. Thank you. That's all I had.
Anthony, what do you have for us? tonight?
Not much, just to touch on the paving project,
Mhm.
the bids went out,
Yes.
the bids are coming in, I would say.
People are telling us they're going to the website and pulling the information, yes.
Yeah, there's one thing that I have to say on that, and I do want to make it public, is that, we are a union village. And, we should try and keep that when we're pulling in these bids, that we try and pull a union company to do the work. In the past, the company that has done the work is a non-union company. And I think the quality of work shows. So I think we really should pay attention to that. I watched them do their curb work. I watched how they install, and I'm not happy with it. So I think we should really look into that. I know the union dollar is a little more expensive, but the quality of work is better. So I want to look into that as well. As far as the street sweeping, I think it came out great. Great idea. I think we should do it in this fall, and I mean, Wheels would know better how to schedule that than any of us. We don't use sand on the roads. I know we use salt, but it's nice to keep. Other towns and villages, they're sweeping every week.
Yes.
I know we can't afford that, but it would be nice to keep that rolling.
Schedule, you have a real schedule.
Yeah, and Cook said that they would come back to us with, some kind of proposal, but he even recommended not just doing it once a year, but
Correct.
the heavy hit.
It doesn't make
areas,
sense to do it once a
Lakeview,
year.
Westchester, Tate, those areas he said were pretty bad.
Do we have any number on like what he pulled? Like how many?
No, I'm waiting for his final bill. Would they give you all that information? As soon as I get that, I'll share with you, but he's
I'm
gonna.
interested in what he picked up. Like the
Yeah,
tonnage.
well, Dan was here, and Dan actually says Cook that his actually cost is gonna be lower than anticipated. So, and then he'll be able to give us a better number too for the future. So as soon as I get that information, I'll share it with the board.
All right, that's it. I just wish everybody a happy, have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and remember why we celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, what do you have for us?
Nothing, just, Memorial Day, to reiterate what Anthony said, remember what the day's about. I will not be here to attend the Memorial Day parade, but keep in mind that there will be a Memorial Day parade in Irvine.
It's, the lineup this year, the Tri-Village Memorial Parade is in Brookline. And the lineup is at 10:30 at the Brookline Fire Department.
So 10:30 lineup, 11 o'clock start.
Uh-huh.
So
Thank you.
that's all I have.
I think going off the list.
Steve, what do you have for us?
I just want to start going back to the street sweeping, just to thank Trustee Stewart with his efforts and suggestions on getting some alternatives to the street sweeper. And I think it's something we haven't done in a long time. And with his effort, we were able to accomplish that. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Also, the mayor and I had a quick meeting today. Right now, tentatively scheduled Buchanan Day for September 16th. We met with the running club for the possibility of having a 5K as well. So as things come together, we'll make sure we share that with everybody, and everyone enjoy the weekend.
It's not about fireworks at all, did you?
No, yeah, I'd love to. Oh. Anyway,
Have a little fireworks show.
I don't really have anything except the same thing as Memorial Day, remember those that was here for. Everyone served a lot for this country and put their lives on the line, so remember that.
it's not about the picnics, it's not about the shopping, it's for those who gave their all for our country. I just have a few things. Town of Cortland has a Memorial Day ceremony every year. That will be Friday at 1 p.m., May 26th at the Muriel Morabito Center. The Montrose Fire Department, our neighbors, are having their annual bazaar from May 31st to June 3rd. We always support our neighbors. The parade, I believe, is on that Saturday.
It's
I think
June
that's-
3rd,
okay,
third.
3rd at 6 o'clock.
I believe it's 6 o'clock start.
Okay, and it's the usual lineup on Bannon Avenue and then to the fire department there. So that's always a nice parade. Let's see what else I have. What other tidbits here. Trustee Laker and I on Saturday were at the high school for the filibus for that benefits Let It Shine. So Buchanan was on the bus, right, Steve?
Oh, yeah, great job. Thank you. Lisa.
I attended the NICOM meeting, the annual meeting in Saratoga last week. Some of the meetings, they have all kinds of different, meetings, and one was state funding opportunities for cities and villages. So it's a lot of information. You're hired, understanding the civil service process. Oh my God, I went to so many of these. My brain is like Swiss cheese at this point. They had something on the cannabis update, EV structures in your communities. Yeah, there's just all kinds of meetings that they have, sessions. So the next one that they're having, and I really think they're worthwhile for all the board members, because you never really can get enough training and knowledge. You know, a lot what we learn is on the job as we're doing things, but this is good to have some experience, some background. The next one, the fall training school for city and village officials, is September 18th through the 22nd, and that will be in Lake Placid. So mark your calendars.
Right around the corner.
It is, yeah, before you know it, yeah. What else? And then the only other thing is I was officially sworn in last week as the president of the Westchester Municipal Officials Association for 2023-24. And it was at the annual meeting, and the forum, what the WMOA, Westchester Municipal Officials, does is a forum for all the Westchester's 45 cities, towns, and villages to study and discuss issues of mutual concern. So I learn a lot going to those meetings. I learn a lot going to NICOM. I learn more from the other elected officials, because we're all dealing with different types of issues. When I was up at NICOM, I can't tell you how many people I spoke to with their issues, with their wastewater plants, their waters, you know, all their water, everything, you know, their infrastructure. So it was interesting to hear what's happened to them and what they're doing. So a lot of knowledge in the room. And then the other thing is our highway department has done some landscaping out of the circle. We're not finished yet, but there's more landscaping, so it looks good. They did a good job. Any comments from, oh, you know what? I forgot the most important thing. Oh my gosh. On June 15th is the next decommissioning oversight board meeting that will be at Village Hall. That town hall is not available. So anyone interested in coming to that, please, it starts at 6 p.m. You have to be here earlier. There's a limited amount of seats here. I'd like to see a lot of Buchanan residents. There's a lot going on. I'm understanding that the state will not be able to force them not to discharge.
Mhm.
So the NRC is in control of the radioactive water, and the state cannot stop them from discharging. So that's the latest update. So, well, better than putting those storage tanks. So there's a lot of strong opinions on both sides. So this next meeting should be quite interesting.
But OTEC still agreed to postpone it until September, correct? The first release?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's still discussions going on. I can't speak for them, but I think they're willing to work with the community. So.
I just, since you brought any point and Holtec, interesting thing, I sent an email to the board, been following what's going on in the nation. We're going to EV. In California, due to the loss of tax revenue from sale of gasoline, they actually putting in a $400 fee to every electric vehicle when they register their car due to the loss of the revenue from the sale of gasoline. So I just want to throw that out there too. So again, we're moving forward to a program, not knowing what the potential impact is going to be. So the sales tax went to every single municipality. They lost millions of dollars. So now they're trying to make up another way. So just want to throw that out there for public information digestion to know what you might be buying an electric car, but you might wind up paying for it anyway. So I want to throw that out there.
Well, it's now in like, it's either 32 or 34 states.
Oh, there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not in New York yet, so it's gonna happen sooner or later.
It will be.
It will be.
Yeah, because don't they use part of the gas tax
Tax.
for the roads
Yeah,
and
yeah.
repair and
Infrastructure.
so if you have an electric vehicle, you're not paying that, so you gotta come from somewhere.
Correct. Yep.
So,
Sorry, I just want to draw that out there.
so yeah, we're in some uncharted water, definitely uncharted water here. Not to make reference to the radiator. And then I just wanted to thank Steve, Dan and Bob for being at the WMOA meeting last.
Absolutely.
So it was,
I'm sorry, I couldn't make it.
I know, I'm sorry you couldn't either. I missed you.
I had a previous thing that I
Oh.
forgot that I had to go to a meeting.
All right, we
I
missed you.
wanted to be there.
Okay, we missed you.
Buchanan was represented.
That's right, they were
Knew that
represented.
the best were there, so I felt comfortable
Okay,
with my decision.
we were represented, but we missed you.
I have one thing.
Sure, absolutely.
So, and it's really brief. We have an application for building permits. Peter, you and I spoke about
Yes, we
this.
did, yes.
And recently an issue came up, or I think it's an issue, where, at the bottom, the person has to, in order to get the permit, has to confirm that the taxes are paid
Good point.
to date. And we've got a situation, and we'll have more, where there's a, what do you call it, a life, health and
Life safety
safety,
issue.
life safety issue. And we're denying permits for people who want to make the place habitable. So that doesn't really sit well with me. So, because I mean, if there's a fire and somebody dies, they say, well, we came in for a permit, right?
But they did not, but yes.
But it's gonna happen,
It could.
right? I mean, are they gonna come in for a permit?
They haven't
After you
done anything.
inspect? I know, but they're gonna get in and inspect,
Yeah.
right?
Well, they're not allowed, if we're talking about a specific house, they haven't even allowed access to inspect.
No.
I know, but Ingrid's on that, so
We're denied access.
they're gonna, but when you do, this will come into effect.
If it does happen.
Okay, so in any event, what I'd like to do, whether that one or the next one comes in, is I'd like to change the language to allow that if taxes aren't paid and, based on building department, saying it's a life safety.
Life safety issues only can be addressed.
Only can be addressed, right? And there should be a payment plan to catch up on some of the taxes, which we've discussed as well. Right, well, I'm dealing with that attorney on that one, and they're willing to do that if that's the case. But anyway, whether it's that house or the next, I think that's a glitch. I don't think you can deny somebody to make their home safe because they didn't pay their taxes. I mean, they'll own the village if somebody,
Be waived for life safety?
No,
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 no fees.
no fees away.
Okay.
but we're just requiring them to pull a permit, which,
What if they're not able to pay the fee? Would we still issue the permit instead?
yeah, I mean, you should probably,
Just put it on with tax roll, how we did.
yeah, or address it with the board when.
Yeah, address it with the board, yeah, and
Yeah.
to see if we can put it,
Determines if it's really a life safety.
the state code regarding that.
Right, and Peter.
Yes.
So that's.
So I was just thinking of, you know,
Modifying the permit.
yeah, putting some language in there, we could show it to you guys to approve it, and then it'll move forward, because I think that one's gonna move.
Yes, it's happening.
It's happening, so anyway, that's all.
The
that's all I have.
concern, because it's like a double-edged sword, so
Yeah.
if we're not allowed in there.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because, well,
right,
I'll go.
and there are children
because
involved,
it's-
and
Yeah,
one of
there's
them,
children involved, there's a
Yeah.
bunch of things involved, but what the concern is. The person had done a lot of renovation, illegal work. And, so now they're in that situation and, there's a child involved, so it's not a good situation.
Well, not only that, we have family member who's saying that is unsafe condition.
yeah,
So a family member is
writing.
saying that in writing, so the building department try to get in there, they refuse entry. So it's a lot more complicated what's going on with this one house.
but it could come up in, you know.
Hey, if somebody wants to do the
At
right
that point,
thing,
I think
yes.
he needs to be able to say, get in there.
And that person owns a
say-
lot of taxes.
I just, I just hope that they come in to start the process because we have a child, we have people that live in that house and we don't want to see anybody get hurt, so.
Okay, well, that's all I have.
So,
Right.
all right, no, that's good, the board needs to know.
Yep,
what's
absolutely.
going on with this. All right, and Dan, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
We're looking at
I had
something
one
else.
other item that I forgot to bring up and I apologize. But, it seems like we have, it's that time of year again. Warm weather, we see the volleyball courts popping up in the yards. There's been some complaints I heard back and forth. And, I actually spoke to Peter about it. And I think we need to somehow come up with, you know, some kind of solution, or
For the fact that the nets are.
we need to have the discussion.
365 days a year.
They're up, you know, and it's not you know, a volleyball net being left up for a weekend party, you know, on a Saturday, and then it's taken down. It's, you know, this is a situation, you know, that we see frequently now. They pop up, they sit there, you know, these parties happen more and more frequent, and, you know, I think it's something that's gotta be talked about, and see if we can come up with a solution.
Okay.
I mean, we had an issue last year, okay, at one of these, and it ended up in a, you know, an assault, right? Some guy ended up in a fist fight on the front lawn. So, you know, I think it's something that needs to be spoken of, and maybe come up with some kind of a solution as to what can be done about it.
Is the issue after hours as well? But that could be a noise complaint. They should call the police department on that at
Yep,
least.
and it results in police having to respond,
Mhm.
you know. In one situation, I guess there was lights that were shining into it.
Yes.
Yes, you know, the neighbors, you know.
Property, it was
bedroom
going
window
into,
at, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that- yeah.
Still out playing volleyball.
that's a noise violation
Yeah.
right there.
Right.
Yes.
So I mean, you know, I think we need a discussion on it.
Suggestion, for light nuisance scenario, there's no New York State law that says anything about light as a nuisance noise. We have a lot of noise
Yeah.
violation issues. But I contacted the owner that was causing this issue. And when I worked in Irvington prior, we had a similar issue, but there's no New York State code that says anything about light nuisance. So the board had to adopt a law to not permit light to exceed the property line to one property line. So if a massive LED light shining on your bedroom window from their house, that's put a canopy on it, reflect it down. It should not exceed the property line to affect the adjacent neighbor or surrounding properties. So that's something that would have to be amended into our code. We do not have that. It's municipality by municipality requirement. There's no New York State law about light nuisance. And I received multiple complaints on some area of the I discussed earlier. And I called them the next day, that was causing the problem, and they technically explained that it had to be done, and they did it. But I'll do that. They did it.
And they should look at the noise ordinance to make sure that there's no noise after a certain time.
That's on.
Right, right.
But, yeah, there's code for time frame, 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock, some days, and then it was past that's another part of the issue.
Yep.
I do receive those complaints, but it's not, I don't think something enforce that.
Yeah.
Well, we would have had a lot more complaints up on the upper roads. There was, you know, some people do know, there was some illegal construction of a recreational, field. I don't know, what, was it volleyball? Or what was it? That's a nice way to put it.
We call it an athletic field.
Oh, an athletic field. And, it was being done illegally. The building, Peter went over there. I believe it's all resolved now, and there was going to be lights, and there was gonna be, PA system. And, all done without approval from the village, and, we would have gotten a lot of complaints, from that, and it would have been justified.
Restored back to.
All right, good.
That's through Peter's efforts.
Yes, thank you, Peter.
I just say one thing, a while ago, Shannon, when we were talking about the noise control ordinance, and it does say in the code, the violation is not more than $100. So maybe that should be raised.
Maybe we put that in the fee schedule, that way it can be done by,
That would be better.
yeah, which. Yeah.
Warning, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And speed.
It's
Where is that, Cindy?
It's our fee schedule.
19.6.
What would you like to do?
To be able to modify by motion or resolution of the village board, not to have the fee in the code, that way they can change it whenever they want to.
Well, you're gonna put it in the fee schedule?
Yes, we'll put in the fee schedule, yes, yep.
Peter makes a good suggestion, I think.
If you feel comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because $50 $100 fine on an event that's generating revenue. Here in Israel.
Yes, that's the other thing.
Yeah, but you gotta be careful. Then somebody can have a party in the house and then they get a violation and they got $1,000. So you gotta be careful about that.
No, we understand it's not geared towards people.
It should be the second, third, or fourth offense.
I just wrote first, second, third.
Yeah.
And so on. This is geared at somebody who's circumventing the system.
Correct. Agreed.
We'll just raise it per event. First
Per event,
second.
yes.
Because we've got that in a few schedules like that.
Exactly.
Other things as well. Right.
For a weekend event, a normal
Right.
scenario, it's understandable, that's your time frame, but again, same residents.
Yeah, over and over again. Absolutely.
Once you get the second, third, fourth.
Yep.
Suggestion, just.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter.
And Cindy.
Good.
See, but that's, we all have to work together, the departments have to work together. The planning board, zoning board, if they're seeing things, they have to come to us and let us know, because, you know, if they're discussing certain issues like zoning, people are asking for that. We don't know. Yeah. Everyone has to work together so we can communicate and get things resolved.
Mhm.
Any other comments from the floor? No? Any hands raised?
Eileen, you have any questions? No, I guess not.
She really on?
Oh, wait, she's on. There we go. Wait, she went up and down. Okay, Eileen, you're on.
All right, I only have one comment for Cindy and Peter. You're not audible. It's muffled. Teresa is nice and clear. The rest of the board is very clear. But unfortunately, Cindy, part of that information regarding the taxes for the seniors was not as audible as it could have been. And Peter, it either is your voice or I'm not sure what it is. But it's not as audible as the rest of the board.
I think
So-
my microphones are all the same, but okay.
It's you, Peter.
It's me.
Just so that you know.
Microphone's in my mouth, did you notice?
Eileen, did you want Cindy to repeat, the senior?
Well, is that going to be in minutes? Will that be in the minutes?
Sayla.
Yes, it will.
Even if it's, no, I'm just asking, even if it's synthesized, you know, brought down into something less involved, as long as it's in the minutes, that's really all I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put it in a minute.
Okay, thank you.
All
Good
right,
evening,
thank you.
everybody.
All right, take care.
Forget it.
Okay, if there's no comments from the floor, I am going to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss litigation. Can I have a second?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.